Like to call the meeting to order. Mr. Butler will lead us in the invocation.
Wait, what now? Are you serious?
Sorry.
No, not me.
Douglas.
He can.
Don't want to do it?
No?
No, good.
Bow your heads and pray with us. Dear Lord, grant safety also to our local and national.
Flag, United States of America.
The republic for which stands
One
one
nation,
nation, God, indivisible.
liberty, and justice for all. Okay, we do have a quorum, all present. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting? So moved. All in favor? Can I get a motion for the approval of tonight's agenda?
Mr. Chairman, before we vote on that, want to move that agenda item?
That's right, we're going to move
The concept
agenda
plan.
H1A1 to the bottom after H1B4.
Correct, yep.
Make a motion to approve.
Second, all in favor? Okay, before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to clarify that the Planning Commission is a recommending body to the Columbia County Board of Commissioners. The decisions made on rezoning and variance requests tonight will be forwarded to the commissioners for final action on June 4th, 2024. If you will wish to address the Board of Commissioners at their meeting, please see Ms. Stoller to obtain a request to speak form. Any request with a public hearing will have a minimum of 10 minutes per side for the presentation of opinions, data, and evidence by proponents or opponents of a request. The applicant will be allowed to speak first, and any member of the public may speak after. Either side may cede their time during the hearing if they so desire. Okay. Temporary use authorization, Mr. Douglas?
So this is an application for temporary use authorization at 6779 Wrightsboro Road. This is an aerial of the site. As you can see, there's a pre-existing manufactured home on the site. This request is for the granted 12-month typical temporary use of that structure on the site while a permanent home is being constructed on the site, again, for the next 12 months. This shows the location and zoning near the intersection of Hinton-Wilson Road and Wrightsboro Road. It's out on the western end of Wrightsboro Road near the western edge of the county. And again, this is the site plan where they're looking to construct the permanent residence. This plan is actually pulled from a building permit that they submitted already. So they're aware that the build and everything that is constructed out there needs to be built in up to county standards. And so understanding that, and they're just waiting for approval of this temporary use authorization to continue through that process. And so staff is recommending approval of the request.
Thank you. Julian and Emily Adams, would you like to come forward and speak on behalf of this? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this? Anyone in the audience that would like to speak in opposition? Have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the temporary use authorization at 6779 Wrightsboro Road.
Second.
All in favor? Carries. Montgomery?
Yes, sir. This is a request for a rezoning from R1 Single Family Residential and S1 Special to M2 General Industrial for several properties off Morris Road. This shows the location of the parcels, again, off Wrightsboro Road and Morris Road. The Morris Road dead ends into the properties at the back, and there is a narrow flagpole that touches Morris Road as well. Properties are primarily zoned R1 single-family residential, with the exception of the portion there at the end of Morris Road. which is S1 Special. That was rezoned back in 1993 for a wood incinerator. As far as I'm aware, that was not built. Currently, the property is undeveloped. This shows the plat of the properties and the existing site. So the intention for this rezoning is for expansion of GIW's facility, which you can see adjacent to these parcels, and is already zoned M2 General Industrial, which is appropriate for their use. They have purchased all of these properties and are intending a future expansion, future building on one of these parcels. So they are essentially taking the first step towards being able to do that with this rezoning. In terms of kind of impacts and considerations to the neighborhood, there will be 40-foot buffers required against all of the residential properties. That will essentially preclude use of this flagpole because of the narrow width of it. By the time you put the 40-foot buffer there, you can't build anything on that without a separate variance approval. We also do have a proposed condition to limit access to Morris Road to emergency traffic only, so that it would not be a main truck route in and out of this property. Essentially, all of the traffic would have to come through the Wrightsboro Road entrances of GIW. You'll also notice several of these parcels, some of them are landlocked, some of them, like the flagpole, have very narrow frontage, so an additional condition would require that these parcels be combined with the main parcel here so that they have Wrightsboro Road frontage, so that they actually meet the code requirements for the M2 zoning district. This shows Morris Road. It is a residential, fairly narrow road. Show the existing condition and essentially why we don't want truck traffic on it. So the reason for that condition, for it to be emergency access only, kind of due to the nature of this existing road. In terms of future land use, these properties are in the neighborhood's character area on the future land use map. That is intended for residential development, which GIW is clearly not. However, these properties are adjacent to GIW's existing facility, which is in the activity center. And the future development plan does allow for expansion of the activity centers as kind of development pushes out from the center of those areas. In this case, this industrial center has pretty well developed with the John Deere facilities, GIW, and the other industrial parks there. These properties are adjacent to GIW's existing facility, so the expansion of the character area in this case does meet the intent of the plan. So staff is recommending approval with the conditions that the subject parcels be combined with GIW's main parcel, 069102, and that combination plat be recorded prior to approval of any site plans or building permits, and that ingress and egress to Morris Road be for emergency access only. Primary access to these parcels should be from Wrightsboro Road.
Thank you. Anybody from GIW like to come forth? Anybody, Dr. Enrico Hendrick? Anybody in the audience like to speak out in favor of this proposal? State your name and address, please.
This is 1179 Louisville Road. I really don't have a lot to say. I think it's all been covered fairly well. These are properties, some of them that have been by GIW for acquired, I think, in 2000. Our current plans are actually fairly modest. We want to put in a office R&D building of about 50 by 40,000 square feet. Falls actually right on the boundary, western boundary of that first parcel there to the east, right about where that arrow is in that is. And it just happens to land right on the boundary, and found out that these parcels were still residential. Decided it would be a good idea, all combined with the site. So that's what we're trying to do here with this rezoning. But you know, in short, medium term, we have no big plans to build any big facilities or anything.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of this proposal? Anybody in the audience like to speak not in favor of the proposal? Please come forward and state your name, address.
covered a lot of it so far. My name is David Maxwell. I live on Morris Road. We're concerned about the traffic. This is, to me, this is stage one of before long it's gonna be traffic and they're gonna wanna take the road. This, to me, seems like this expansion is gonna keep on going. GIW should have already contacted the citizens, the landowner on this road, rather than going to this. If they wanna buy us out, they can buy us out and have the road. Nobody's talked to us, told us anything. You've covered that the traffic won't be affected right now, but down the road, it's gonna have to be. Wrightsboro Road is backed up. You can't get in and out of there now. I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about. If anybody lives out there in Grovetown, you can't get through there at night. More expansion is just not necessary right now. So there's some sort of easement to get the traffic going through there. We just want to, I'm speaking on behalf of several of my neighbors.
Yes, sir.
We just like a clear definition from GIW. If they would like to invite us, talk, explain what they're gonna do. We're in a residential area. We're neighbors. My property backs up to GIW. We just like the clear definition. Are we gonna be pushed out down the road, or is this a one-time thing? That's all we're asking.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak in opposition? Can I get a recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval with conditions of RZ 24-05-08, rezoning from R1 and S1 to M2 for properties located at 5900 Sanders Drive, 897 Marsh Road, and off Marsh.
All in favor? Carries. Mr. Butler?
Mr. Chair, this is a request for rezoning on 4018 Evans to Locks and 673 King Taylor Road on about 2.14 acres from R2 to S1 for a proposed event facility and small retail space. The applicant has requested to withdraw this without prejudice. So we're going to basically go through very quickly kind of what they requested. Staff is amenable to that request to withdraw without prejudice. There's a location of the property off King Taylor Road in Evans to Locks. And in terms of zoning, currently zoned R2, pretty much everything around it is zoned residentially, whether that be R3, R2, or R1. You have some S1 close by. There's some S1 close by. Well, in terms of aerial view of the site, again, currently undeveloped, you do have a right-of-way here going through there for power of some kind. There's a plats of the property, also the existing site, size of it, and the overall concept plan. So again, what we were dealing with was basically a large house that was going to be, for lack of a better term, an event facility. There was discussions about it being for friends and family, probably not for lease, but again, it's one that was kind of debatable on that. Also for a small retail space, that definitely kicks into being S1. Overall, there were concerns with it being within this neighborhood, commercial use, basically encroaching into the neighborhood pretty clearly. So we did have concerns with that. But again, the applicant has requested to withdraw without prejudice. In terms of future land use, again, this is a neighborhood character area. Exactly what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be residential. You could have some things that are, like again, churches, that sort of thing, can go in a neighborhood character area, but again, uses or inclined to be commercial, those really don't fit. Again, staff is recommending to accept their request to withdraw without prejudice for this application. Staff recommendation.
Thank you. The owner of Walia Properties would like to speak out in favor of this. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak out in favor of this request? Any in the, yeah, come on, please come forward and state your name and address.
The request to change it from what it already is to something else, you're withdrawing that request?
Yes,
So
sir.
I don't need to say anything, right? I just want to be clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Anybody else like to speak out in opposition? Oh, we only got 10 minutes.
Roy Bowers, 3888 Beaverbrook Drive. I've been a resident of Oak Brook subdivision 29 years. And I was in opposition of this. And if anybody is in traffic in the mornings and at 2 o'clock or 2:30 when school gets out, time bomb waiting to happen. Putting something in that corner was just going to make it worse. But I ask that somebody start to look at the traffic, the fact that we haven't had somebody killed yet, that intersection of King Taylor Road, Evans to Lock Road. It needs a light, especially when school's starting and ending. Traffic backs up all the way to Panther Run. They're 15 to 20 minutes waiting to get out. I don't know if this is the place to do that, but it needs to go in the minutes, or somebody needs to start looking at that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Forward, please.
Live on 4445 Peregrine Place. I'm totally against this for reasons, but elephant in the room and the thing that nobody has talked about, bike path, the Locks Road, that property border. I am an avid cyclist. You almost have to get off your bike just to cross there. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody even respects the right-of-way of the pedestrians and the cyclists on there as it is. School lets out, it's a problem. And nobody's even talking about if it's an events facility, you know, there's 3 schools that you can throw a baseball from.
Correct.
And then traffic's so bad in my neighborhood right now, I can't, it's hard for me to back out of I live on the first house on the left on Peregrine Place. And there's 2 big curves, Panther Crossing. Nobody even talks about that, and it's kind of confusing. So if you don't live there, you're going to turn down that road and just shoot right on down and then turn around in my driveway like everybody does, looking for your place that you want to party at. And you know, just look at the Savannah Rapids Pavilion when they rent those things. I also work at the Bicycle Pet. That's the second bike shop in Columbia County. 3 Sundays ago, somebody rented the picnic area, and they were smoking pot out there. I'm not saying that that's what happens. Sounds like a family-run thing, but if that place is rented, you can't control the tenants, and that's what I'm worried about. There's so many things that can go wrong right by my house. And I'm worried about noise, too. When Lady A has something, I hear it like it's in my backyard. If there's a live band or anything like that, I'm going to hear it in my house. So there's many issues why I really don't want that. I'm all for commerce, tax money, all that stuff, but I just don't think that is a good fit for.
All right, well, thank you. Is there anybody that would like to speak other than the traffic issues and the noise issues? Is there any other reason you're opposed? Please come forward.
My name is Michael Milano, and my wife and I live on 509 Meldon Road in the Morning Falls subdivision, and we're here to strongly oppose this rezoning proposal. The parcel of land, of course, is adjacent to our backyard and currently zoned for a single-family residence. If you include an event space, it of course would have all the negative impacts that have been mentioned already. In the developer's proposal for this, they quote, community at large would benefit from this development, but it would not benefit our community. It would have a negative impact on our community. They also state that the dedicated venue would ensure that their gatherings do not adversely impact the neighborhood. That's exactly what it'll do for us. They also plan to include a marketplace that can sell special items to their friends and families, since that would be a convenience for those individuals. Again, this development as planned would only benefit the friends and the families and the developer, not the rest of us. Finally, the developer feels that the plans, quote, align with the community's interest, unquote. They don't align with our community interest, and that's why we're here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Get one more.
Chairman, thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Dr. Daniel Boyd. And I wanted to bring up a couple of issues. With their prior event housing in Barrington, they had an issue with parking. If you look at that real sharp curve right there on King Taylor, which is right adjacent, that is almost nearly impossible to get two cars to go by without having to go 5 miles an hour. If there is parking on that road from that event, then that would totally destroy two subdivisions from exiting. So, also, as far as being an event house, also known as a party house, you're looking at people bringing in alcohol, and other substances that we don't need. The risk of somebody doing crazy stuff after they've been in the house because they get wild will definitely directly affect every single one. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Okay. I got a motion, please?
Chairman, I know that the applicant has submitted a withdrawal without prejudice, but I think still, I'm going to make a motion to recommend disapproval of the file RZ 24-05-09, rezoning from R1 to S1, event facility and small retail space, 4018 Evanston Road, 673 King Taylor Road.
I second that motion.
All in favor of that? Motion to disapprove passes. Ms. Montgomery?
Yes, sir. This is a request for a variance to section 74-80, which is in our subdivision code for design of streets. This is in relation to cul-de-sac length for a proposed development off Harlem Grovetown Road. This shows the location of the property. It is zoned R1A, single-family residential. It was rezoned that way in 2022. You can see it is surrounded by, mostly by properties in the Grovetown city limits. It is currently an undeveloped site. You can see Uchi Creek there on the east side of the property. There is significant floodplain and wetlands associated with that creek on the eastern half of the property. And the overall concept plan is to develop 11 larger lots. For the variance, we're only concerned with this road on the west side of the property. For our subdivision code, we do have a maximum cul-de-sac length of 700 feet. This works quite well in our more developed areas where you can do kind of grid patterns or connect to adjacent properties. With this type of site, we do have allowance for topographic conditions and things like that for Planning Commission to waive that requirement. In this case, instead, we do have significant wetlands and floodplain on half the property. The property to the west is largely already developed for Carrollton. They did not leave a stub out, so there's no connection point there. Can't really feasibly or financially build a road connection across the floodplains and the wetland areas. And on the south end, this property, it backs up to some larger lots that are accessed via an easement to Reynolds Farm Road, which is an unpaved road. So there's no really good viable connection point. And with the shape of the property, there's no really good way to interconnect the roads on the site. And this property is long and narrow. It's got significant environmental features. There's no real way to do a grid pattern or to shorten this cul-de-sac up. So the only other option would be essentially an easement, just a shared driveway. They could do 4 lots off of that. The longer private road with the cul-de-sac is about 2,500 feet. They get 7 lots out of that, so it's not a significant increase. There's no particular kind of public benefit in holding them to the 4 lots versus the 7. And the private road may actually provide better access than a shared driveway. So staff is recommending approval of the variance to increase the cul-de-sac length.
Hargrove Development would like to come forward.
Chairman, my name's Mark Ivy. I live at 730 Stonecrest Lane, Appling, Georgia. Danielle did a great job as usual presenting that, so I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience in support of this proposal? Anybody in the audience opposed? Okay. Recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to recommend approval of VA 24-05-03, variance section 74-80F to permit a cul-de-sac that exceeds 700 feet in length.
All in favor? Carries. All right. Montgomery?
Yes, sir. This is the concept plan for Marshall Mills. We just saw it a moment ago for the variance request. So this is the related concept plan approval for the 11 large lots in this development. Again, it is currently zoned R1A. There are zoning conditions with that zoning approval. They'll still be held to those conditions with this concept plan. We have previously seen a concept for this site that was developed at more of an R1A density. Due to some kind of issues with working out the entrance improvements on Harlem Grovetown Road with the city, they've decided to come back and request a revised concept. It is 11 larger lots with 2 private roads. The shorter one up here will be paved. The western one will be gravel, and as we just discussed, it is a little longer than we would normally allow, but with the variance approval, that does allow the concept to move forward as well. The lots range from 2.84 all the way up to almost 20 acres. They will all be connected to water and sewer service, and they, again, will have to comply with their zoning conditions and with the county codes as far as buffers. And staff is recommending approval of the concept plan.
Thank you. Hargrove, want to come up?
I'm trying to get out of here before 6:30, right?
Well, I already lost a bet.
So basically, the concept plan that was originally approved had, I think, 83 lots. And we've been working for probably a year and a half, if not 2 years, with the city of Grovetown. Gotten nowhere. Wanting us to spend about $300,000 on day one to put a left turn lane in. And the first phase would have been 35 lots. And it just doesn't make financial sense. And then the condition of the road out there, never could tell us, are they going to make us rebuild their existing road when we do the left turn lane, or are they going to contribute? So we threw in the towel, divided into 11 lots and move on. Hopefully you'll approve the concept.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience in opposition to the proposal?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the conceptual plan for Marshall Mills off Harlem Grovetown Road.
All in favor? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? Missed it by 9 minutes.